Hi guys, welcome back to my part 2 video on moving to Berlin. Today I'm going to cover some of the details regarding my acceptance to a university, and this video is also for somebody who, if you are also interested in going to a German university, this video will help. My story starts in 2019 when I graduated from high school here in the US. From there, my next pathway was going to community college. So I went to a local community college and I wasn't so sure about what I was gonna do. I knew I wanted to do something in business, and I also knew that, I wanted to continue my education, at least, up to that point. I was doing pretty well during my time there. I had a pretty high GPA. It was around a 3.5. I think I ended up finishing with when COVID started ultimately. And that happened to be the end of my community college career, you could say, because once classes went from in-person to not in-person, it just wasn't something that I was interested in pursuing, at least online. So I decided from there to take a break and focus on my career a little bit, which was up to that point I had been doing some work at a local vacation rental company. That led me from around 2017 to 2022. I decided that it would be a good idea for me to go back to college, specifically in Germany. I was ready for a change. I started researching many universities in Berlin to decide where I wanted to go. And the factors that were most important to me were cost and which universities taught in English, and what the entrance requirements were for that particular university. German public universities do require you to have at least a B2 level of German to be accepted, among a couple other things, and that pretty much canceled out any hope of going to a public university, not to mention the fact that they are taught in German, so that also would make it challenging as somebody who only knows English. This led me to focus only on private universities, which were English taught. The good news is that there is quite a large selection. The bad news is that some do not stack up well. They don't stand strongly against other universities, and some are not accredited, which is something that you will have to look for. Essentially what that means is there are some universities that you can pay to go to that are not recognized by the state, and what that boils down to is having a degree that doesn't stand strongly or isn't recognized by an employer, another university, so on. But yeah, very important to make sure that the university you go to or are looking into going to is accredited. That's a huge thing. Once I had narrowed down where I wanted to go, or roughly at a couple schools I was looking at, I started applying, and I spent a lot of time making CVs, personal statements, resumes, sending in transcripts, communicating with them, and it took a pretty long time. I would say it took probably 4 to 5 months almost to find the right school and really get everything set in stone. And that is also when I realized that most European universities do not accept community college credits. You have to transfer your credits to a in-state university, wherever you're at, and then have it accepted from there, which is a bit of a lengthy process, but it is doable. I was able to do it successfully. The second big challenge for me was the requirements at the universities. So many German universities require you to have a good GPA in high school. That was at least a 3.0. The other requirements were having a strong CV, resume, personal statement. It took a ton of drafts to get everything set up in a cohesive way. If you have trouble with, ask help from friends who you look up to, or teachers. They can also help. There's also some resources online available if you're interested in getting some help online to work on a personal statement or a CV. From there, it was about 2 days after I finished the entrance exam where I got the final acceptance, and I was able to put my deposit down of, I think, 3,000 euros, and that secured my place for the March semester. If you made it to this far into the video, this is probably the most important part. I'm just gonna briefly go over the most important things you need to know if you're going to a German university from the US as a US student. If you are at a community college in the US, you'll most likely have to transfer your credits over to a in-state university before an international university will accept them. That is something that you really won't be able to get around as the international universities just don't recognize the credits unless it's a working abroad program or something like that. Be aware of scams. Like I mentioned earlier, the universities are not all created equal, and you really need to make sure that it's a recognized university, it's accredited by the German government, and that it's a legitimate university, because there are scams out there, unfortunately. The paperwork that you'll need to have ahead of time before even trying to apply to the German universities is all of your high school transcripts and college transcripts in the official format. That's very important. A CV written in the proper format, a personal statement with a photo, a high school diploma, a good resume, and photocopies of your passport. And the final thing is optional, but I think it helped me, and it also helps especially if you have a lot of references, is a reference. A good reference can go a long way. So those are the most important. Most of the information that I learned about going to Germany and going to Berlin were taught to me by friends, very close friends who live in Germany. One of them was able to help me with my CV and my resume to really make sure that I was on the right track and I was doing it correctly. She's a university student out there, so she was able to kind of show me the do's and don'ts, especially since it is a pretty big gap from how the education system is in the US compared to Europe. And also I had a friend out there who just kind of explained to me all of the things that I'll need in the moving process, everything from, having a blocked bank account to getting an apartment, the German bureaucracy, how everything's handled over there, and what I'll need to do immediately once I move, and just everything along the way answering the questions. So if you're watching this, big thanks to you guys. I couldn't have done it without you, and looking forward to hanging out in Berlin soon once I get there. So big thanks again. I will put a link down below to some of the websites that I used that helped me gain as much information as I could on the process. Really, being informed is the best thing you can have. Just knowing what you're getting into ahead of time and knowing the steps that you need to take to get accepted, and beyond acceptance, just the whole moving process, because it's challenging, and there were a lot of things that I didn't know that I needed to do and prepare for that I learned about, and it was a very interesting process. I hope you guys took a lot from the video. I plan on making more videos more frequently. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button down below, the thumbs up button. Leaving a comment really helps. I would love to interact with as many people as I can on this process. If anybody is interested in moving, if they have any questions, put a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer it and help out in any way I can. I wish you guys good luck if you are planning on applying to a international university and going through the steps that it takes to get accepted. And thanks again for watching my part 2 YouTube video. Part 3, 4, 5 will be coming up soon. I am just kind of in the process of figuring out which ones I want to put out first and make it as cohesive as possible. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.